Take their seats. Members, please take your seats and sign in to the network.
Legal guy.
All members, please log in. Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, April the 2nd, 2025. I hereby call State and Local Government Committee to order. Madam Clerk, you will please open the board for roll call. Let the record reflect that Representative Rudd is here. His light's not working.
Okay, finally kicked in. I kept putting my code in.
I think, is Miss Carringer with us? She is.
It wouldn't let us log in.
Okay, I think that's Representative Warner is present.
Is he able to log in?
Representative Chisholm is present. Madam Clerk, please close the board. At this time, we will ask the members, does anyone have any personal orders or announcements? Representative Miller. Before we get started, Madam Clerk, please announce who's here.
Mr. Chair, you have 18 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Representative Miller, you're now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have several elected individuals from the great county of Shelby with us this afternoon, and I want each one of them to stand up and tell us all who they are.
If you're from Shelby County, elected officials, please stand up.
Good afternoon. I'm Shelby County Sheriff Floyd Bond.
Thank you.
We welcome them.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for being with us today, and thank all the guests for being in the audience. Does any other members have any announcements or personal orders? Representative Warner.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I have some folks and friends here from Marshall, Williamson, and Murray County. If you folks could please stand up and we'll make you feel welcome. Giles County too, Chris Morris.
Thank you all for being with us today. Any other announcements or personal orders? Seeing none, we'll move on. Today we have 97 bills on the calendar. So we're not going to finish it, but we are going to put a dent in it. First thing I'd like to do, without objection, we will place the following bills on next available consent calendar. So you might, if you hear your bill, you will be on the consent calendar. House Bill 1339, House Bill 1431, House Bill 1410, House Bill 1416, House Bill 1428, House Bill 1421, House Bill 1427, House Bill 1424, House Bill 1425, House Bill 1423, House Bill 1433, House Bill 779, House Bill 391, House Bill 418, House Bill 672, House Bill 1411, House Bill 1434, House Bill 567, House Bill 1417, House Bill 318, House Bill 1164, House Bill 1419, House Bill 1432, House Bill 763, House Bill 344, House Bill 1293. All the bills that's been placed on the consent calendar do not have any amendments and they do not have fiscal notes. These are mostly local bills. So without objection, I move that we place all the bills named on the consent calendar for next week. Got a proper motion in second. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Consent gavel has been listed. Members, we have requests to take a few bills off notice. So we'll go ahead and take care of that and get that cleaned out. First being House Bill 795, House Bill 557, House Bill 980, House Bill 939, House Bill 765, House Bill 733, House Bill 722, House Bill 611. All these bills have been requested from the sponsor to be taken off notice. Without objection, we'll take the bills listed off notice. All right, folks, bear with us today. We've got several members who have bills in other committees, and I have several chairmen that chairs other committees. So we will be jumping around, so please bear with us. We will try our best to accomplish as much as we possibly can. We're going to start with House Bill 1338 by Leader Lamberth. Is he? Representative McCalman will be presenting from his seat for Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, members. This is a bill that's coming to us from a comptroller, House Bill 1338, dealing with heightened risk debt approval. Bill makes government work better by ensuring local governments are responsible with taxpayer dollars when issuing heightened risk debt. The bill mandates comptroller approval for local governments issuing heightened risk debt, including debt with put options, loans with variable interest rates, or interest rate reset provisions. Bill also categorizes municipal energy authorities as local governments, ensuring the municipal energy authorities are subject to the same oversight and approval requirements as other local governments when issuing heightened debt. And the bill updates the balloon indebtedness law to exclude certain new federal lending programs from the definition of balloon indebtedness, removing them from the balloon indebtedness law's approval requirements. And with that, I stand ready for any questions y'all may have.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions? Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move previous question.
Previous question's been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 1338. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please vote yes on the board or no on the board. Madam Clerk, open the board for voting. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board, announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 22 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules. Okay, we're going to jump to item 12. This is House Bill 930 by Chairman White.
Motion.
Got a proper motion and second. Chairman White, you are recognized. I do see. Yeah. I do see that we don't have any amendments. You're recognized on your bill.
That is correct. Thank you very much, committee. House Bill 930 was one brought to me. In 1986, there was a loan fund created called the Home Buyers Revitalization Fund. And what it did, it made loans to developers to serve low and moderate persons with critical housing needs. Well, the interest rates and a lot of things have changed since 1986, and there's about $3.1 million sitting in this fund that they're really not able to access. And so what this bill will do, will open that back up to allow funds to be made to low and moderate, those who incomes are low and moderate for home ownership. But the new part will the bill will allow us to also create a new loan product that would go to builders to support affordable housing and construction. And so that's basically what we're kind of revitalizing this and making it more relevant. Since over the past 40-some years now, we weren't able to access it the way we need to. And with that, I renew my motion.
Explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Dixie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as the income requirements, or what will those be as far as to determine if they're low income, medium income?
You're recognized, Chairman White.
Actually, to answer that question, I'm not real sure. I'm looking at the bill. Let's see, treasurer, 3.1 million. I'll have to get you that. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 930. Moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. Madam Clerk, please open the board for voting. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 21 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 present not voting.
Chairman White, your bill will move on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you very much, committee.
9. All right, we're going to jump to item 9. We have the whip with us today.
Motion.
Got a proper motion and second for Whip Garrett on House Bill 1073. I do see that we have an amendment on this bill. Can you please give us your drafting code?
Sure can, Mr. Chairman. That is ending in 5588.
That is correct. We got a proper motion and second on the amendment. I assume you would like us to place the amendment on the bill for discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the amendment makes the bill.
Okay. Without objection, we'll be voting on Amendment 5588 going on to House Bill 1073. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill's now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill, Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. What this bill does as amended, it does one simple thing, that it mirrors now state law through the FEC on campaign coordination as it relates to specifically and only door knocking. That's all that it does. Mr.
You've
Chairman.
heard the explanation of the bill. Does any members have any questions? Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So can you be more specific in relation to door knocking?
Sure.
Whip Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sure. I mean, if you have an entity that wants to help you door knock, it's going to be regular campaign activity, just like if you're going to be doing it yourself. Right now, the FEC has got guidance out there for the federal delegation for folks that have teams that want to door knock for them. That can happen with coordination now. It would have to be an independent expenditure or something that you add to your particular campaign accounts. All this does is mirror what the FEC is doing for our federal delegation.
Representative Dixie. Pass. Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So would this, in your opinion, would this be loosening regulations or tightening regulations on the door knocking?
Whip Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think it changes any type of regulations with door knocking.
Representative Warner for a follow-up.
Then why do we need the bill?
Representative Garrett.
It's a great question. So now if you like for someone to door knock with you, you have an event, let's say in your district, and there's another entity or whatnot that wants to help you door knock, you would be subject to certain limits to what they could provide for your campaign. Now, since the FEC does this for our federal delegation, we're just doing the same thing. So it doesn't really change a whole lot for reporting or what you're supposed to be doing as your regular campaign activities.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So pretty much it would stay the same.
Whip Garrett.
Other than the coordination feature. So if someone was going to come to your district and door knock, you can actually know about it instead of it being an actual independent expenditure. That's the only difference.
I'm being very lenient here. Representative Warner, you're recognized.
Well, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate you being lenient, but we're just getting started here and we've been in here a very short period of time. And I just got a couple questions that I'd like to get clear on. I'm
I tell
going
you
to
what-
support his bill, but I would like to get some clarification.
I'll tell you what I'll do, Representative Warner. I'm going to recognize the people that hadn't been recognized, and I'll come back to you.
Mr. Chairman, I hadn't seen nobody else raise their hand, sir.
Well, I hate that for you. Representative Salinas, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. So in terms of disclosure, so let's say there's an organization that is registered that works on a particular issue, and then they're supporting me. So that money and how those canvassers are paid, how would that be disclosed, and how is that different from what is happening now? So right now, it's you usually report as an in-kind donation, or you find some other way of assigning a monetary. But anyway, can you describe how that would change with your bill?
Whip Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That won't change. I mean, they have to still report as, just like an independent expenditure is reported. It's not necessarily an in-kind to you, but that entity that helps would have to put it on their report that they helped you out. Nothing like that is changing whatsoever.
Representative Salinas for follow-up.
So the limits will still remain the same for that.
Chairman Garrett.
That's the difference. There won't be a limits for what they could assist you in your door knocking activity only, as it only relates to door knocking activity, because that's going to be now a regular campaign activity under this piece of legislation.
Okay, so
Representative Salinas.
so the money for canvassing that they paid out will not be restricted because it's a campaign expense?
Whip Garrett.
You won't, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You won't be subject to a limitation for a donation of whatever those limits are, because they'll be still reporting it just like they report it now.
All right, moving on. We're back to Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Will Garrett, let's say if a organization brings out 25 people and they knock doors for 2 weeks solid, and that monetary limit goes over the monetary limit that a organization is available to give, would we be able to do that under your bill?
Whip Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes.
Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Next on the list is Chairman Rudd.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing the bill, and I'm glad to co-sponsor it with you. The main thing the bill does, as I understand it, and still does with the amendment, is right now that if the National Federation of Pilots wanted to come into your district and campaign door to door for you, you don't have any knowledge of the mail, the literature, nothing, but you could also be having your campaign team hit the same neighborhood and you can't coordinate. This simply allows them to communicate that they're coming into your district and they're going to be going on certain subdivision. And that way, not to double track. It makes it easier on the campaign and the group. Is that correct?
Whip Garrett.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's exactly right.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 1073, moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please vote yes on the board or no on the board. Madam Clerk, open the board for voting. 7 members voted. Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 ayes, 3 nays.
Whip Garrett, your bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
Okay, we're going to go to item 16. This is House Bill 653 by Representative Hicks. Chairman Hicks, you are recognized on House Bill 653.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 653 is a campaign finance bill, and there's a few points that's important that I want to touch on in this. It cleans up a lot of language, and it does a lot of different things, but it requires all political campaign committees registered with the Registry of Election Finance to pay an annual $150 registration fee to help offset the cost incurred by the registry in regulating these political campaign committees. These fees is similar to the fees paid by lobbyists. This bill eliminates both individual and aggregate limits for a political campaign committees controlled by a political party or by a caucus of such political party, established by the members of either house of the General Assembly, recognizing that the political campaign committee controlled by the political party serves different and distinct purposes than other registered political campaign committees, and allowing political party to fully coordinate its campaign efforts with the party's candidates running for office in the state or local elections. House Bill 653 also requires that 80% of an annual professional privilege tax paid by the registered lobbyist be allocated to the budget of the Bureau of Ethics and Campaign Finance for the purpose of enhancing the Bureau's current information technology platform and website, and to further offset the cost of the bureaus in performing these responsibilities. This money currently goes to the general fund, and the current technology platforms is over 15 years old and in need of a major overhaul, as you can imagine. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. We have the folks here from Campaign Finance if they need to answer any questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir. Is Mr. Young with us? Okay, if you
Yes.
go ahead and start making your way up, Mr. Young, I will go out of session here in a minute, but I have some questions for the sponsor right now. Representative Warner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you should grant me the time, I'd rather wait and ask my question to Mr. Young here.
No problem. Any other questions for the sponsor? Representative Rudd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Hicks, for bringing this. This is a reform brought about by the Ethics, Bureau of Ethics, and to clean up and to help provide them proper funding, money that's usually transferred over anyway. They can explain all that, but it cleans up a lot of things for them, and they can report that. But thanks for bringing it. It's needed. There's nothing revolutionary here. It's basically what we're doing, and it's a cleanup bill on them, but they can explain all that. But again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative, for bringing it.
Thank you,
You're
Chairman.
welcome. All right, without objection, we're going to go out of session to hear from our guest. We are out of session, and I recognize Mr. Bill Young with the Tennessee Bureau of Ethics. Please give us your name, who you're with, and you will have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee. I'm Bill Young, the Executive Director of the Bureau of Ethics and Campaign Finance. Know most of you, if not all of you. To my left is Lauren Topping, our General Counsel. I'm not going to use 3 minutes, Mr. Chair. I'm here to answer questions, but bottom line, Representative Rudd is right. Chairman Rudd's right. This is mostly a cleanup bill. We are trying to get some money to replace that 30-year-old system that we've got out there that many of you have complained about to me and members of my staff. We're hopeful of getting that money. We've talked to the F&A commissioner and the speakers and other folks about trying to get that money in this year's budget to begin the process of replacing that system. But it's mostly cleanup, and I'm open to any questions you might have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Chairman will take privilege here, and I just want to thank Mr. Young for his hard work and answering a lot of questions from us that are serving the people. And you do a great job, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to my
All right, our
staff.
first question is from Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioner, for being here. You've always been fantastic. Any questions I've ever had, your department has done a fantastic job, and for that, I'm grateful. Just a couple questions here. Will this bill in any way affect or stop out-of-state PACs such as the ones that we've seen in the last primary cycle here in the state that dumped millions of dollars into the state to push the governor's voucher bill?
Representative Warner, you and I have discussed this bill does not touch that subject. We've talked about that. I'm obviously, as I've told you, concerned about that. We've talked about methods to do it, but this bill doesn't touch that. It does impose a registration fee on our political campaign committees, $150, again, allowing us to raise a little money to hopefully help us replace that system, get the help we need.
Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One quick follow-up. Would it be in your opinion that we need legislation down here in the state to stop the out-of-state PAC money from coming in here and
Mr. Young, you're recognized.
I'm not sure I would say stop it, Representative Warner, but it certainly needs to be transparent when it comes through. I'm a big believer in transparency. Folks who are engaged in campaign activity here in the state of Tennessee need to be transparent about it, report it so we can put it on websites so the press and public know what's going on. We've had a lot of those matters come before the registry. It's an issue that keeps fomenting, and we'll see where it ends up.
Representative Bricken.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just want to, the funds raised by this legislation, will it go to improve the website and hopefully soon?
Mr. Young, you're recognized.
Representative Bricken, you asked this same question. I know you're paying me. I'm paying you to ask this question. I appreciate it. Yes, sir, it will. We've already done a lot of groundwork on this one. We've talked to other states, particularly Georgia. About 4 years ago, they replaced their system. It cost them $3 million, $500,000 a year to monitor it. But it replaced the whole campaign finance system, including upgrading the website. Some features we would like to see is the ability to upload, to make it easier to search, things like that. But it's just 30 years in technology. No, that's a lifetime. But we would like to get on it. If we get the money, we've already laid the groundwork. We're ready to go, start talking to contractors, Secretary of State's IT people, state IT people. Again, we've talked to every state about what they do. It's a potpourri, but we're ready to go if we can get the money. Thank you for the question, sir.
Representative Bricken, anything? Okay. Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Young. Could we anticipate or look forward to probably more accountability if we pass this bill, more audits and easier audits for your department to conduct?
Mr. Young?
Thank you, Chairman Moon, for the question. We would hope we make those audits easy now. We're required by statute, as you know, to do 4%. Of lobbyists, and I think it's 4% on legislators too by statute. Jay Mock, our director of audit, he's very easy to work with, and Lauren Toppin's actually been assisting him. But as far as what this bill does with audits, it doesn't increase or decrease the number of audits. It does give us a little more money to maybe have a little more staff to accomplish getting those audits done quicker. We're a little behind, quite honestly, and part of it's because we have been unable to replace our second auditor for about 3 years now. Just because of salary, we just can't pay the salary.
Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for our guest? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Young, for being with us. Thank you for all you do, and we appreciate you coming in and testifying.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to say before I leave to thank the sponsor, our sponsor here, Representative Hicks, has worked with us and helped us on this, and I greatly appreciate his help.
Without objection, we'll go back in session. We're back in session. I'm recognizing Mr. Hicks on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll renew my motion.
I have a name on the list and it was there before y'all called the question, so I'm gonna recognize him. Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just got one question for the sponsor. In section 11, section D, is this a new group of people we're adding that to get the training, the governors, commissioners?
Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is. Yes.
Good.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 653. All those in favor, please vote yes on the board or no on the board. Madam Clerk, open the board. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board, announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 22 ayes, 1 nay.
Chairman Hicks, your bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Next, we're jumping to item 34. This is House Bill 1406 by Representative Gant. Proper motion and second, Representative Gant. Before I recognize you, we have received a resolution of 2/3 vote of the governing body, and it is in my office if anyone would like to see it. You are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this legislation or this private act is doing is the county commission and the county mayor of Fayette County is seeking to use $1 of the wheel tax to fund the infrastructure to a new hospital that is coming to Fayette County.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. The question has been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 1406. Moving on to calendar and rules. Madam Clerk, open the board for voting. So every member voted. Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board, announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 ayes, 2 nays.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
We're going to item number 8, House Bill 581 by Chairman Doggett. I got a proper motion in second. We're in correct form. I do see it has an amendment. Please give us your drafting code.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Drafting code is 6076.
That is correct. Got a proper motion. Is there a second? Proper motion and second. Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill for discussion?
Yes, please. It makes the bill.
Without objection, we are placing amendment 6076 onto House Bill 581. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Your bill's amended. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is something that I've been working on for well over a year now. We've had some collaboration with the FBI, the TBI, and our Ethics Bureau that just testified on a bill a couple bills ago. This bill will provide more transparency with online campaign contributions in our state elections. It requires online campaign donation platforms to register as a vendor with the state registry of elections. It will also require that the CVV be used on any contribution that is made through the online platform. And that's the 3-digit or 4-digit number that comes with your debit or credit card. If there is an investigation from the registry, these vendors will have 10 days to provide the information regarding any online contribution in question. It also incorporates the identity theft statute. If someone uses a credit or debit card to make a political contribution through a vendor without that person's express consent or knowledge. And finally, the legislation would put the same limits on contributions from online platforms that we currently have for PAC contributions. I hope I don't have PAC.
You've heard the jumbled description of the bill.
Yes, thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Representative Mitchell, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, I've just got in section 1A, it's got the a candidate may not exceed more than 50% of the candidate's contributions from an online platform. You know, that seems like we're, you know, most of my online donations are small dollar donations. But if for some reason they add up, you know, are you talking that disclosure period, or are you talking the whole election cycle?
You're recognized, Representative Doggett.
Thank you. It would be for the entire election cycle. So
Okay.
whatever your aggregate limit is, 50% of that aggregate, as I understand it, could not come from online contributions. So you would be limited at 50% of your total amount of contribution.
Representative Mitchell for a follow-up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the rationale behind that, you know, because, you know, most of these dollars are small dollar donors. You know, it seems like we're putting more stipulations and more restrictions on our small donor citizens than we are the dark money that's coming into this state 7 figures at a time. You know, and seems like we're, you know, the little old lady who's sending me $10, we're worried about capping her, but we're not capping that $1 million dark money coming in for vouchers. That's kind of, but appreciate your answer.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Representative Powell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have similar concerns about this bill based upon that reason. I mean, I think if someone is able to get a groundswell of support and have people that donate online, usually those are more small numbers and that they add up quickly, though. You end up having people give a lot of money online. I don't know why we would prohibit that. The other thing I have an issue with this on this bill is I think it's a slippery slope when we start regulating commerce and these companies that want to be in the campaign business and have a presence with online donations. I know people scrambled initially before when technology first was developing to collect online donations and use different platforms. Now there are a couple ones that are more prevalent. My concern here, though, is if I'm a company or if I'm even a candidate and I want to do business with a company to have those contributions received, I've got to make sure that that business is registered as a vendor with the state first. And to me, that just goes against the principles of good commerce. We should always, have businesses that want to do business in our state. But when you're making sure that a business has to get registered with an entity before they can do business, it creates a lot of problems for
Representative Powell, please get to your question.
Could you explain that? I mean, what's your rationale for trying to have companies register in our state when they might not in other states?
Chairman Doggett.
That's an excellent question, and I'm appreciative of that. It's all in an effort of transparency. You look at across our country, every state's ethics laws that are bound on their state elected officials, they differ from state to state. But one of the things that we have here is there's certain information that must be captured for us to be able to accept those contributions from those contributors. A lot of these vendors that are set up that are operating in multiple states, they don't get all the information that we are required to have for reporting purposes so that the general public can go online, they can look at who we are receiving contributions from and capture that information. So that's the effort there that we're doing. These vendors will register with our Bureau of Ethics, in which they will be told all the information that they need to capture. Because currently, if we are to accept contributions from individuals through perhaps an online platform, we don't get all the information that's needed. We don't get the occupation. We may not get the address. There's a lot of things that we don't get when we go through that. So that puts the burden back on us that we have to go out and try to seek and find that information. And if we cannot find that information, we have to return those contributions back to the contributor. So having the vendors be able to do this in our state, and also for the verification with that CVV, a lot of these online platforms, it's very simple to do something that's called smurfing. And that's where you make multiple contributions, one individual under the alias or name of others. And I've read numerous articles, seen reports where this is happening. An individual in Florida had done this to the tune of $52,000, had made contributions to the same individual, same candidate, but use multiple different names. And then you've got people that show up on a list, on a report that never made a contribution to someone. And they are totally unaware that they had contributed X amount of dollars to a candidate in some other state. And so that's all we're trying to do, is provide more transparency for the people of this state to see where the money's coming from, who it's going to, and make sure that any nefarious actors can be held accountable.
Representative Powell for a follow-up.
And I'll be brief, Mr. Chairman. And I appreciate that response. Again, my concern is I think the onus should be on us to make sure that we use vendors. They're going to capture the information we want. My fear here is when we start putting in regulations on business such as this, then you're going to have companies that don't want to do business in our state because if they've got to do separate registries in 50 states, that becomes burdensome on them and harder for them to do business. I understand what you're trying to get. That's just my point of view when it comes to free markets. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move previous question.
Previous question's been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 581. Moving on to government operations. All those in favor, please vote yes on the board. Those opposed, no. Madam Clerk, open the board. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board, announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 16 ayes, 7 nays.
Chairman Doggett, your bill moves on to government operations.
Thank you.
Okay, we want to go to item 29. I'm sorry. Item 29. This is Chairman Hurt. Okay, House Bill 0454 by Chairman Hurt. Chairman Hurt. I do see we have some amendments. We are in proper form. We've got a proper motion and second. You're recognized. Which amendment would you like to run?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 6470.
6470. That is correct. Is there a motion on the amendment? Proper motion in second. Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill for discussion?
Yes, sir, please.
Without objection, we're voting on placing amendment 6470 onto House Bill 454. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill's now amended. You're recognized, Chairman, on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 454 as amended seeks to ensure that the Department of Corrections is working efficiently. The bill creates a legislative office to serve as our eyes and ears within the correctional system. This concept is nothing new in Tennessee or across the country for that matter. At the national level, 19 states and the District of Columbia have similar offices. These offices were so successful in those several states that the federal government stole the idea and Congress created a federal office to work with the Bureau of Prisons. And during this process, members, I've had the opportunity to meet with Commissioner Strada to discuss the improvements that the department has made over the last couple of years. And I do want to express, coming from my standpoint, this is not an indictment to the department or to any one person, but it is an opportunity for us to help make government work more efficient. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will yield to any questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Any questions for the sponsor? We do have some people that would like to speak on this, I assume. Do we have John Gleason or a Richard Muckle here? Okay, you guys come on up to the table. Without objection, we'll go out of session to hear from our guest. Out of session. Gentlemen, thank y'all for being here. Please give us your name, who you're with, and you will have 3 minutes, and we'll start here to my right.
Good afternoon. Is it coming through? All right, great. All right, good afternoon, Chairman Crawford and committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Richard Muckle. I'm Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Correction. I've got the distinct honor to sit here representing more than 5,200 correctional professionals across the state within TDOC, and that's not a responsibility that I take lightly. I started my career 15 years ago as a Tennessee state employee, just down the road as a correctional officer at Riverbend Maximum Security Institution. The issues that we have with this bill are not necessarily about the concept of ombudsman, but rather some of the concerns about how that will function and the impact that it might have. And as Representative Hurt said, he's met with the commissioner and spoke about some of these concerns as well. So I'd like to take a quick opportunity to talk about those concerns specifically, as well as to give some context to the committee about where TDOC is today. So first, our concerns. This particular ombudsman bill gives overly broad investigative authority based on complaints and individual initiative. While there are correctional ombudsman laws in several other jurisdictions, including the Federal Bureau of Prisons, there are many different versions and none are quite this overly broad in their authority. Some states authorize a kind of neutral third-party mediator. as well as an audit function. And some also authorize investigative or review authority. An important point, though, is that for those that do give investigative authority, they're intentional about setting framework, criteria, and standards of proof for what and when to investigate. This bill doesn't quite do that. Specifically, Section 102 authorizes investigations based on any complaint received or their own initiative. And why that matters is that we have concerns about the potential impact on our own investigations as well as resource allocations. Because this bill does not seem to contemplate resource need, volume of complaint, or the variety of stakeholder outcomes desired, there's also potential for overlapping with, or worse, redirecting the intel and resources that drive our investigations. Last year, our investigative unit conducted more than 2,400 investigations. Those are both criminal and administrative within TDOC. Additionally, our constituent services platform tracked over 4,000 inquiries and complaints in just the first year since establishing it. Our concern is that if not thoughtfully established and appropriately resourced, this would create a significant burden on already overworked TDOC staff to support the work of one or two people managing potentially thousands of inquiries each year. I'd also like to share some perspective on where TDOC is today. It's both true that we have come a long way in the last few years, and we still have a lot of work to do. It's been said recently that TDOC has a staffing crisis. For some context, in December of 2021, we had 1,157 correctional officer vacancies. That represents 47.5% of all CO positions statewide. That also meant that 7 of our 10 facilities had CO vacancies of over 100 each. This week's vacancy report showed the lowest number that we've seen in several years at 584, which is approximately half that of 2021.
Mr. Muckle, your
Yes.
3 minutes is up. Mr. Gleason, you're recognized. Give us your name, who you're with, and you'll have 3 minutes.
John Gleason, Action Now Initiative. Thank you, Chairman Crawford and members of the committee for allowing me to speak before you today. I also want to give special thanks to Representative Hurt for bringing this bill, as well as the many co-sponsors that have signed on to support this. It really shows your commitment to the men and women serving our state as correctional officers and other frontline employees. As I mentioned, I represent Action Now Initiative, which is the advocacy network for the work of Arnold Ventures. We partner with other advocacy groups such as the Faith and Freedom Coalition and CPAC, which both support policies just like the one Representative Hurt has brought before you today. Another partner in our work is One Voice United, which is a national organization representing correctional employees across the country and is dedicated to lifting up their voices in this conversation and advancing policies that enhance and strengthen our correctional system. Last week, we had Jeremy Tripp, their policy director, in town. He met with many of you on this committee and shared his experience working with these pieces of legislation. Unfortunately, he could not be with us here today. I had the intention of sharing his testimony with you, but I think it's probably more important that I respond to some of the comments that have been made. So the comment about overly broad complaint language and there not being another statute like this is not correct. This is the complaint language is very similar to Michigan's statute, which has been around since 1975. A comment was made about personnel. That's subject to the legislature. The legislature has to start somewhere. You'll see that this statute is crafted very similarly to other legislative offices like legal services. For example, legal services did not start with the number of attorneys it had today. It started with one and had to grow from there. And so that's going to be under the purview of the legislature, with this being a legislative office, to see the work that's there and resource the office accordingly. But we have to start somewhere. And finally, on the thoughtfulness of this legislation, this amendment was not put together haphazardly. We met with every single member of this committee, every single member of the Senate committee, and the amendment that is before you today is a direct reflection of the feedback that we heard from each and every one of you. So I thank you for your time, and I'm here to answer any questions about the legislation.
Thank you guys for being with us. Does any of the members have questions for the guest? Seeing Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Muckle, I'm just curious. So the department is against this legislation. Is there a concern with the transparency, or is there something else that you're really concerned about?
Mr. Muckle?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. No, it's most certainly not related to transparency. The concern is how this authority would function and the impact that that has on our current staff. My concern specifically is about how our staff would fulfill the requests for investigation, information, and so forth. As it said, our staff are already working very hard, and this does not provide any mechanism to fulfill those requests.
Representative Butler, you're
Thank you, Mr.
recognized.
Chairman. Of course, I have a prison in my district.
Yes, sir.
My first question would be, and I'll close with this. Do you have an issue with the whole premise of this? And I'll leave it at that.
You're recognized, Mr. Muckle.
Thanks, sir. Not the premise, no.
All right. Any other questions for our guest? Seeing none, thank you all for being with us today. Appreciate your testimony. Without objection, we'll go back in session. We're now back in session. I recognize Chairman Hurt on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just renew my motion.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Bricken.
Original caption bill. And maybe it's a question for the sponsor or legal. When is the effective date of this?
Chairman Hurt, you're recognized to respond.
Mr. Chairman, we might need to go to legal to make sure we get that correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
On the last sentence, it says, for all other purposes, this act takes effect January 1st, 2026, the public welfare requiring it.
Representative Bricken, is that it? Any other questions for the sponsor? Chairman Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for the bill, Representative. I fail to understand why anybody would object to an ombudsman. We know what they provide, oversight. And as many complaints as I've gotten to my office in the last 10 years regarding DOC, I think it's an important bill to pass, and I look forward to voting for it. Thank you.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Questions being called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 454. Moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. All those in favor, please vote yes on the board. Those no. Madam Clerk, open the board for voting. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? We can't let this happen.
Put some color.
Madam Clerk, close the board, announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 23 ayes, 0 nays.
Chairman Hurt, your bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means. We got one more. Item 29, House Bill 351 by Chairman Hurt. Got a proper motion and second. We're in correct form. I do see we have an amendment. Would you give us your drafting code?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I have 6378.
That is correct. I got a proper motion and second. Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill for discussion?
Yes, sir, please.
Without objection, we're placing Amendment 6378 onto House Bill 351. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The weak ayes have it. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope I can drum up some excitement on this legislation. This bill, as amended, requires that when a prisoner is released for paid employment and wears an electronic monitoring device as required under current law, then the sheriff who houses the prisoner will deduct the cost associated with the monitoring device from the prisoner's wages. It then requires the county or the state to pay those costs directly to the provider of the monitoring device. If the prisoner is unpaid, then the entity utilizing the prisoner for work shall pay the cost for the electronic monitoring device. And members, this legislation is I had a sheriff's office in my district reach out to me, and this legislation was passed on the work release program a couple years ago or a while back, and then it was brought forward, another member, in order to require the ankle monitors. And there was just some confusion on how those entities were going to be paid. The prisoners on work release are paid by the company, and then that check goes to the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office handles the administrative duties of paying for the ankle monitor and putting the money back for the prisoner. So this is just clarifying that process when sheriff's offices use that service.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Any questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 351. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor vote yes on the board or no on the board. Madam Clerk, open the board. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 ayes, 1 nay, 1 present not voting.
Chairman Hurt, your bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
We're going to jump back to item 6. This is House Bill 562 by Representative Fritz. We got a proper motion and second. Representative Fritz, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I bring to you House Bill 562. And it is to protect all citizens and all lawful occupations as essential in the state of Tennessee. It applies from lessons learned coming from the COVID-19 pandemic. This bill reaffirms that all legal work is honorable and serves a purpose in our communities. It reaffirms that each Tennessean has the right to pursue a lawful career of their choosing. It also reaffirms the ability to earn a living as a basic civil right. It reminds us, as Thomas Jefferson so eloquently said in the Declaration of Independence, that the role of government is to secure our rights, never to declare a lawful employee or a lawful citizen non-essential. It establishes a way for Tennesseans to seek a remedy if they are prevented from carrying out their lawful duties of their occupations. During the pandemic, in the name of public health, state government and local agencies established a list of essential occupations. Those occupations not designated as essential were not permitted to work unless the nature of their work was such that it could be performed at home. This caused tremendous financial hardship on those whose occupations were not listed as essential and didn't have the capability to work from home. Many were forced to seek work in another occupation just to survive. In July 2021, the Sycamore Institute reported that as of late 2021, or of June 2021, Tennessee had 40% fewer smaller businesses than it had before the pandemic. It is never the role of government to pick winners and losers, and it's always our role to protect the rights of citizens. I had one of the barbers in my area that actually brought this idea to me a couple of years ago. And he was one of those people declared non-essential, if you will, and unable to earn a living and provide and make his house payment. Last week in the subcommittee, you'll notice that we had part of our Chamber of Commerce from Roane County, a young lady who owned a business who similarly found herself in that position. So, Mr. Chairman, I would just ask for y'all's support on this. This is a really simple bill to just prevent that employees like those and business owners like those from being declared non-essential at any time. And if they are so, to give them a right of recourse. With that, I'll renew my motion, Mr. Chairman.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Do we have any questions? Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And sponsor, and I know we talked about this during the subcommittee, and you and I have spoken in depth on this particular bill. I just want to again just say thank you for bringing this bill. I mentioned in sub that one of the hardest things I had to do during the pandemic was look 50 people in the face and say, y'all go home, we're shutting our doors because we've been told we have to. So that should never happen again. And I appreciate you bringing this legislation. Thanks.
Thank you. Next on our list is Representative Carringer.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, sponsor, for bringing this. And this is really just a statement because it hit my family very, very hard. My mother was a cosmetologist. My sister-in-law owned her salon, and where all of the ones that work for her rent their booths on a monthly basis, or weekly. So my sister-in-law was not able to even get any PPE money or nothing to supplement her income, but yet she still had her rent, her utilities, and all the other expenses that involve running a business. And she said, I can't charge my people who rent from me when they're not able to work. So thank you very much. It was very sad that this happened, and those who, because my sister-in-law did not have, where she wrote them checks every week, they paid her for their booth and then they filed their own. She was not able to get anything to supplement her income. And so it was very unfair, and it's still not ever been made right for those who worked hard and lost during those months. So thank you very much. I want to sign on to this bill, and I'll be supporting it.
Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kind of appropriate. I heard a news story this morning about the latest cases of measles here in the Middle Tennessee area, and they just so y'all understand this, they said if someone with measles walks into a room with 100 people, 100 unvaccinated people, 90 of those 100 will get measles. So just take that in the understanding that, we're rights for the government to protect rights also is protect the life and the liberty. And you don't have much liberty when you're on a ventilator, and you don't have much life if you've died of some infectious disease.
Next on the list is Representative Martin.
Thank you, sponsor, for this bill, and I will humbly ask that I can sign on as a co-sponsor. But I want to say this. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think all of us heard these stories. But as a free American citizen, I don't need this bill to tell me that I'm free, that I can work. I don't care what the governor says, the congressman says, the president says. I don't care what any of them says. As a free citizen, we have rights that are natural rights. And so I don't know that this bill is going to change things. And I'd like to hear your explanation of that. Because I look at, I remember someone coming and complaining that the government was shutting down churches. And I said, they're not shutting down churches. Churches are shutting down churches because churches have a right. I can't do my religion unless we gather for a baptism. I can't do my religion unless we gather to serve the Lord's Supper. So I don't buy this thought that the government can stop free people from doing what it is that are their natural rights. So help me understand how this makes life better. And what am I missing that we need this? I get it, but I just want to know, could you expound a little bit on that?
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the question. I too, like you, Representative, I think I'm already free. I think I was born free. I think one of the things here that this bill does do is provide recourse. Because if I say to you, Representative, that you are non-essential and whatever your craft may be, you can't deploy that, and you lose your car, you lose your house, or like my friend Jamie Davis, who's the barber that I mentioned, tells me that he's never more afraid he was going to lose everything that he owned. Because the full force of the government, when we did declare those people non-essential, fell on them from time to time. And so that ability to recourse and bring civil action against the person that makes that determination, I think this bill needed teeth. It has teeth. And so I would offer that as an answer to your question.
Representative Martin.
Thank you for that explanation. And I certainly can appreciate that, because people that feel like their rights have been violated, they need recourse. And so, again, I thank you for this bill.
Yes, sir.
I have no more questions on the list. Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Frisch, just for clarification, let's say this bill would have been in effect and legal during the deepest hours of COVID-19, where thousands of people were put into the category of non-essential. If this particular law would have been in place, are we saying that the 1,000 or more could have very well came back to sue the governor of the state of Tennessee and the Tennessee House of Representatives
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so the House Representatives didn't make that, that declaration, the governor did. And I would offer that one of the things I find most offensive about the use of the word non-essential is that we have grown past, I had hoped, to where that I would look at another man or woman and say, you are less than I am. Because when we use that word non-essential, that's exactly what we were saying. When we said to the representative's sister-in-law that she couldn't open her business because she was not essential, we were saying that someone in Tennessee is better than another person. I say there is no room for that in Tennessee. I say that it doesn't matter what your legal occupation is, whether you're a man or woman. I think you have a right to earn a living. I think you have a right to apply that craft or that trade that you've been given. So to directly answer your question, this would allow a suit against that county executive or against that governor that that made that. And that creates a lot of consternation for people and probably gets me in somebody's doghouse. But that's okay.
Representative Miller for a follow-up.
Thank you. And I agree with you 100%. No one should be put in a category. No one. Non-essential. I agree with you on that.
Yes, sir.
And you did answer the question, God forbid that it ever happens, if this particular bill passes and is signed by the governor, that we'd never find ourselves in a situation like that. Because I promise to you, if it's by the thousands and everybody decided they wanted to sue, you could send this state into bankruptcy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move previous question.
Previous question's been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 562 going to, well, hang on just a second. We do have some people that are signed up to speak, a Patrick Sheehan and a Alex Pellenham. Are you guys here? Do you want to speak? Okay. Without objection, we will go out of session to hear from our guest. We're out of session. You're recognized, Mr. Sheehan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Representative Fritz. Sitting there in the audience listening to Representative Fritz, there's nothing he said that I disagreed with. Hit so close to home for me because I am the son of a barber. My mom has been a barber for more than 56 years and in the state of Georgia for the last 50 years. So that's something that hits close to home, and certainly during COVID-19 is something that impacted my family. I come from a family that's a lot of small business ownership as well. Yes, sir.
Mr. Sheehan, you forgot to tell us who you were with.
Yes, sir. My name is Patrick Sheehan. I am the director of the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency.
Continue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. My apologies. My concern is the bill as it's written, I think has some unintended consequences. So when I think about in the aftermath of Helene, when county mayors, city mayors, police chiefs, emergency managers are trying to hold people away from a jurisdiction, that it creates, this bill as it's currently written, creates the potential for liability to them as they're trying to hold people out, whether that be looters, disaster tourists who like to come and see areas. And that raises some significant concerns on the ability of a local jurisdiction to be able to control its borders, in my mind. Now, it could be catastrophizing the implications as I read the bill as it's currently constructed, but that's a concern that we have. I think about the Gatlinburg wildfire, where for 10 days after the wildfire, the mayors closed the city down as we worked to recover bodies, restore services, and ensure the public safety. And certainly, I think as the bill is currently written, could be construed to be preventing people from doing work. Thank you, sir.
You've heard the from our guest. Does any member have any question for our guest? Chairman Littleton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to ask if they could speak today. That was.
You're okay. Thank you. Representative Warner, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, thank you for being here and thank you for what you do. One quick question. Are you here on behalf of the governor today?
I am, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Next on the list, Representative Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sheen and I, we have been several times, unfortunately, in my district, looking at tornado damage. And I don't know that I can agree with what you said about a disaster in Helene. This bill simply protects somebody's right to earn a living. And, you know, if we've got, I don't think it prevents a jurisdiction or someone to come in and restrict access to disaster tourists, as you mentioned, which I know that occurs. It doesn't prevent them from keeping the looters out. This bill simply protects somebody's right to earn their living, whatever that may be, as long as it's a lawful job. So I'm not really seeing a negative aspect of this. Could you put some more clarification on that for me?
Mr. Sheehan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Butler. Yeah. So, you know, when I think about Gatlinburg, right, that is a community that relies on tourism. So going back, and I know it's 8.5 years, but it's the clearest example for me. The entire downtown area of Gatlinburg was closed to outsiders for a period of greater than a week. And people were not able to go in and earn a living. And it is a city that thrives on its beauty and the tourism that it's able to generate. And because of the destruction wrought by the wildfire and the tremendous winds in excess of 60 miles an hour sustained for more than a dozen hours and with gusts greater than 90 miles per hour, tremendous damage to the area there. So they kept people out. And I think when I'm reading the broadest interpretation of this bill, the decision to prevent people from entering that area, I think could be construed. And certainly I think trial lawyers would construe it as such, as preventing lawful employment.
For a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the leniency. So if we have a natural disaster with a fire, you know, the power's going to be out, utilities are going to be affected. And if you're a hair salon, for example, then you won't have access to water, you won't have access to power because the utilities aren't available. You're not able to open your business. We've had natural disasters in my district on small scales where power has been out and restaurants have not been able to operate because they didn't have power, and they've run generators to keep their freezers and coolers from shutting down to preserve what they did have. And so I appreciate your input. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate what you've done in my district. But I'm going to have to adamantly disagree with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So your understanding of the bill, like if we're in a state of emergency, let's say COVID-19 happens again, whatever, and my business now that it's not considered non-essential, I can open. Well, my employees, if they feel unsafe coming to work, am I able to forcibly make them come to work or fire them under this bill? Do you see that as a thing?
I'm not a lawyer, sir. So,
Mr. Sheehan, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'm not a lawyer, sir. I really can't speak to that part of it. We are a right to work state, though, and that means that employment relationship works both ways.
Representative Chisholm, for follow-up.
That's all I have.
Okay. Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, so tonight we've got in Northwest Tennessee the highest level of storm threat. So they're expecting long-term tornadoes in Northwest Tennessee tonight. So God forbid a tornado comes through and you've got live electrical wires down, you've got very serious gas leaks. Would this bill create a safety hazard that would inhibit the you from doing your job to save people's lives in those areas?
Yes, and here's thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you're going to let line workers in. You're going to let utility gas workers in to do those restorations. The way I am reading the law as it's currently written is that those people then become essential, and that I think that the courts could construe that anyone else would be non-essential. That is pretty much the nexus of my concerns.
Representative Mitchell, for a follow-up.
And basically, when they're judging people essential, non-essential, that's not categorizing people as, someone's more important than someone else. It's primarily for safety reasons, is it not?
Mr. Sheehan?
Primarily for safety and also who should be in an area, right? So do they live there or do they work there? And should that work be happening at that time?
Mr. Mitchell for final?
So basic common sense.
I find that common sense doesn't really exist.
Okay. Chairman Howe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I was one of the first people during COVID that wrote a letter to some officials in Tennessee that took issue with non-essential jobs. When you're trying to put food on the table and feed your kids, there are no non-essential workers. What I would like to get clarified for me, however, and maybe you can answer this, Director. I first thought of the wildfires in Gatlinburg and have pretty good intimate knowledge of that because we all served with Chairman Carr and firsthand knowledge of what went on there. It was devastation. Those local elected officials, I'm sure they felt like they had a duty to clear the area, close it down. Under the reading of this bill here, could those people have been civilly sued for keeping people away from their jobs in that area?
Mr. Sheehan?
Sir, that's our concern with the bill as it's currently construed and written.
Thank you.
All right. Before we, we're already out of session, but before we go any further, legal is going to give us an explanation of exactly what this bill does, because I think there's a little bit of confusion on it. Legal, you're recognized.
Thank you, Matt Money, for the record. With all due respect to the director and the opinions on the committee, I just want to read the pertinent section that we're discussing here in B2. During the existence of a state of emergency that's declared, so the state of emergency has already been declared pursuant to this chapter because we're in 58.2, or at any other time, a political subdivision or a public official shall not prohibit the operation of or engagement in a lawful occupation by categorizing a lawful occupation as non-essential in an order, rule, or regulation. So I just want to make it clear that there's a distinction between declaring a disaster area and cordoning off that area for safety purposes, and specifically declaring that an occupation is non-essential or essential. Now, I don't pretend to know if TEMA promulgates rules or policies declaring essential and non-essential occupations during states of emergencies, but generally speaking, if a local government says, hey, we've had a tornado here, this is not safe for anyone to be in, we're not making a declaration of essential and non-essential workers. We're just saying there's a disaster and people need to stay away until we get things fixed. That's my understanding of how it works.
Okay, do I have any questions for legal? Representative Mitchell?
Yeah, so legal. So if I'm mayor of small town Tennessee and I categorize priority and non-priority workers, I'd be okay with this legislation, correct?
Thank you for the question, Representative Mitchell. I'm not going to speculate as to whether an acronym would be the same as essential or non-essential. I don't want to parse words. Thank you.
Chair Lady Littleton, you're next for legal. Okay. Representative Powell. Okay. Without objection, we'll go back in session. Thank you, Mr. Sheehan, for being with us today. So we're back in session. Okay. Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. I apologize. This has taken so much time. I would offer for you that the director just exemplified to you why we need this law. This director just exemplified to you that he's okay with declaring you Tennesseans and the 70,000 that you represent as non-essential to make his job easier. I don't want to go too far with this, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I think that's a sad day for the state of Tennessee, what we just heard. And so I'll ask for your favorable consideration.
Representative Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move previous question.
Previous question's been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 562. Moving on to calendar and rules. Madam Clerk, please open the board for voting. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board, announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 ayes, 5 nays, and 5 present not voting.
Representative Fritz, your bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman Committee.
We're going to go to item 21. This is House Bill 1426 by Vice Chairman Russell. We got a proper motion and second. I have received a resolution of 2/3 vote from the governing body that's in my office. Did he leave? Okay. We will move to Representative Gillespie. Item 26. Got a proper motion and second on House Bill 306 by Representative Gillespie. I do see that we have an amendment that's already been adopted. So Representative Gillespie, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and committee. First and foremost, this bill just applies to Shelby County. What we're doing here, or let me back up here. Currently in our county, the county offices submit their budgets to the county mayor for the consolidated budget to take place. And once approved, then the county administration could, or in the past would, impose certain salary restrictions. And we can go into as much as that as you'd like. But what this bill will do is it will end that practice, and it will allow the legislation to allow the constitutional officers to present their budget directly to the county commission and prevent the county mayor from withholding or diverting funding that's already been approved by the county commission. So this would give the county commission more checks on the budget process in Shelby County. I do have some people here. They don't have to talk. With that, I welcome any questions or renew my motion.
Okay, before we go any further, I want to ask the members of the legislature, if y'all could please come up in these chairs here. I'm having a hard time seeing everybody. So if you want your bill heard, you better make sure I see you. Got you, Mr. Shaw. No, not there. I'm talking in the reserve section. I seen you. Sit back down. Okay. You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions? Representative, Leatherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I've discussed this bill with the sponsor and some of the supporters of it here in the audience. And I do have concerns with this bill. It eliminates important checks and balances in the Shelby County budgetary process. And I think the last thing we need to do in Shelby County is reduce accountability by taking the executive branch out of the budget process. And that's what this bill would do. And it also puts restrictions on the legislative branch of the government. In section 1D, it says that the different offices will submit the budget directly to the county legislative body. That's not what we do at the state level. We might not like what the executive branch, the governor, does, but we don't write him out of the budgetary process. We don't do that at the federal level, the state level, or at any county level either. We have checks and balances between the executive branch and the legislative branch. And Also, it was mentioned that the mayor may take things in or out of the budget, but the mayor only proposes the budget. The legislative branch, just like at the state level in other counties, the legislative branch implements the budget. I think it's
Representative
also-
Leatherwood, we don't need statements. If you've got a question, please ask your question.
The question is, and I'll add one more point towards my question. You know, I was registered of deeds for 18 years and went through this budget process. We need a consolidated budget. If I said I needed 15 computers, the mayor said you can only have 12. Well, I went to chairman of the county commission budget committee and explained it to him because they're the ones that actually implement it. You know, why would we do in Shelby County? Why would we eliminate what I think are vital checks and balances just in Shelby County when we don't do it at the federal, state, or other county levels? These checks and balances are here for a purpose, and I think we need to maintain them. Why would we eliminate them?
Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that other than this will maintain the checks and balances and add more checks and balances to an already system that already is checking. So I just completely disagree with everything he just said.
Okay. Members, we do have people that have signed up to speak. That is not my decision to make. That is the sponsors. So if you have someone you'd like to speak, I need to know that.
I'm at the will of the committee. If someone would like to bring them up here, that is fine with me. If not, I'm at y'all's will. I do have two bills behind this also that probably some of the same questions will be brought up. So.
Representative Miller, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an important piece of legislation, and it's been here for several weeks. Earlier, I had the opportunity to speak with individuals representing the mayor side of the issue as well as the county side of the issue. And my understanding, I left with the fact that they have an understanding and an agreement. And I think the bill is in the right and correct posture at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Representative Leatherwood.
Well, the sponsor and I do disagree, but putting this in a form of a question, Section 1, Item D, I have read, have you read, where it says submit the budget directly to the county legislative body. That is absolutely unequivocally taking the executive branch out of the budgetary process. It's very clear. And I also mentioned putting restrictions on legislative branch. You know, I read, did you read in the bill, Section 1D, where it says the county legislative body shall not implement any kind of personnel restrictions or operational maintenance restrictions on these offices. That just very clearly, unequivocally is putting a restriction on the legislative branch. Again, we do not need to eliminate these important checks and balances. But of course, it's the committee's decision if they want to loosen this process in Shelby County of all places. Thank you.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Representative Martin. I'm sorry, Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This piece of legislation here, does it require one of those 2/3 vote to make these changes?
It does.
Do we have that, sir?
We do. I announced that, I think earlier, that it's in my office if you'd like to see it.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? All right. Does anybody want to speak? Seeing no hands, I will recognize Representative Bricken.
Thank you. I'm getting information that and get clarity on that the 2/3 confirmation by the legislative body on this. I don't want to certainly challenge the chairman, but are we absolutely certain about that?
Well, we pulled the first resolution they sent us this morning and looked at it. It did not have the vote on it from the governing body. So we asked that another resolution be sent before 1:30. I did receive it in my office and the vote, I think, was 7-0 in favor. And I do have it in my office if you'd like to see it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions? Representative Miller, you're recognized. Question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote on House Bill 306. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, vote yes on the board. Those opposed, no. Madam Clerk, open the board for voting. Has everyone voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, you will close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 8 ayes, 10 nays, and 3 present not voting.
House Bill 306 fails. Item 27, House Bill 307 by Representative Gillespie. Do I have a motion? Got a proper motion and second. Representative Gillespie, I do see we have an amendment. Please give us your drafting code.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is 3613, and I believe it makes the bill.
That is correct. We will place the amendment 3613 onto House Bill 307 without objection. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Your bill is now amended. You're recognized on House Bill 307.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. And continuing, I guess, a little bit here, House Bill 307 is a critical step in restoring the rights and privileges that the Shelby County Sheriff and other constitutional officers once held before the County Commission stripped them away in 2008. These changes made when the County Commission rewrote the Home Rule Charter not only removed key privileges such as salary petitions, but also renamed these officers in a way that no longer aligned with existing state law. In 2018, Sheriff Bonner successfully pushed for legislation to correct this issue. However, a legal dispute with the Shelby County Attorney and an opinion from the State Attorney General's office determined that the 2018 law did not apply to Shelby County. The reason the law referenced constitutional officers, while Shelby County charter officers refers to them as charter officers. This legal distinction left the sheriff and other officials without the full authority and resources that they should rightfully have. House Bill 307 fixes this problem once and for all and ensures that the proper legal terminology is used, restoring the authority that the charter officers had before 2008. Additionally, the bill clearly outlines all the sheriff's current duties under state law for home rule counties. This is crucial in securing the necessary funding for the sheriff's office so it can effectively carry out its responsibility and serve the people of Shelby County. With that, Mr. Chairman, committee, I renew my motion.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? We do have some people signed up to speak. Is it Regina Newman, Javer Bailey, Melvin Burgess, and George Boynton? If any of those people are here would like to speak, please raise your hand.
We need them.
Anybody like to speak, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none.
Other way around.
We will move forward. Representative Gillespie, you're recognized on House Bill 307.
Thank you so much. And again, I'm at the will of the committee here. If y'all would like to answer, get more questions and take a deeper dive into this, I'm more than happy to. But I think this is pretty straightforward. And we're just correcting some legal language here to allow these offices to do something that they have been doing and that they all do in all of your respective counties already. And with that, I renew my motion.
Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Previous question.
Previous question's been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 307. Moving forward to calendar and rules. All those in favor vote yes on the board. Opposed, no. Madam Clerk, open the board for voting. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change the vote? Madam Clerk, close the board, announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 22 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill moves on to calendar and rules. We are on item 28, House Bill 308 by Representative Gillespie. I do see we have some amendments. Please give us the drafting code of the amendments you want to run.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's 3787 and this, yes,
That's the amendment you want to put on?
that. Are you showing a different amendment on your own?
I'm showing two amendments, 3787 and 6047.
Yes, I'm so sorry. My binder here is not in the right order here.
So are you running both amendments or?
Yes, that is correct. And they collectively make the bill.
Okay. All right. All right. We're on the amendments. Do I have a motion? Proper motion and second on the amendment. We will deal with these individually. All those in favor of drafting code amendment number 3787 going on to House Bill 308, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Bill's now amended. We have a second amendment. It is amending code 6047. Got a proper motion. Is there a second? Proper motion in second. Without objection, we'll vote on amendment 6047 going on to House Bill 308. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. County voters to decide whether they support a 1% sales increase to fund the construction of a new jail. The need for a new facility is urgent. The current jail built in 81 with an annex added in 2002 is outdated and costly to maintain. Recent estimates put the cost of a new facility at around $800 million, significantly higher than previous projections due to inflation. The repairs that the sheriff has made are only temporary, and the current facility can no longer meet the growing demands of our community. Currently, right now, Shelby County has two funding options to consider if we want to build a new jail. One, issuing general obligation bond debts, which would cost Shelby County taxpayers over $800 million in interest alone. Or a temporary property tax increase of approximately 74 cents, which would require a significant burden on our homeowners. And our taxes were just raised, as I'm sure many of y'all's were as well. If passed, this bill would allow a third option and give the citizens of Shelby County a choice if they would like to fund it with the 1% sales tax increase, which would be spread the cost across both residents and visitors, including tourists, easing the financial burden of local homeowners. By supporting 308, we will give the citizens of Shelby County the opportunity to make this decision on how to fund a new jail. This bill includes a sunset provision, ensuring the tax increase is not permanent, and earmarks the funds specifically for the jail construction, providing transparency and fiscal responsibility. This is about supporting a long-term solution to public safety, efficiency, and transparency. The Shelby County Sheriff's Office strongly supports HB 38, and I urge its approval so that the people of Shelby County can decide the best course of action for our community. I have Sheriff Floyd Bonner here and Chief Alicia Lindsay and Trustee Regina Newman present if y'all have more questions and if y'all want to go into more details. With that, I renew my motion.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Leatherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, on this bill, maybe we read it differently. I don't know if we would need a question to legal. But in section 1B, it says that the county tax rate now is 2.25%. And over in section B4 or B3, it says if this process, which we are being asked to initiate, this sales tax increase, notwithstanding this part to the contrary, upon expiration of the authorized period, the tax rate within the county, cities, and towns reverts to 2 3/4%. So again, section 1B says the current county tax rate is 2.25%, which it is according to the bill. But after the period of time you mentioned, it does not all go away. It is not temporary. It reverts back to 2.75%, which is a 0.5% increase. So if we initiate this process at the state level, rather than them doing it at the local level, I read it that it would result in a permanent tax increase. Also, the county could now increase the tax rate 0.5%. It can. They're at 2.25. The state sets a limit of 2.75. They could increase it 0.5 cent now on their own without coming to the legislature, frankly, to kind of do the dirty work here that, oh, the state legislature required us to start this process. But if we need to go to legal, he was shaking his head, no, that's fine. But as I understand it from the bill, the rate now is 2.25. And as I understand it, counties can go up to 2.75% without us doing it. Is that?
Without
legal?
objection, we've had a member request that we go out of session and hear from legal. So without objection, we'll go out of session. Out of session, legal, you're recognized.
Matt Mundy from Legal. If I understand your question, Representative Leatherwood, you're asking whether the county can currently, if they're at 2.25%, I'll take your word for it because I don't know off the top of my head, whether they can currently go up to 2.75. Yes, they can under the Local Option Revenue Act in Title 67. Any local governing body can adopt an ordinance and then to go up to 2.75 for the optional sales tax. And then that has to be put on a referendum election. So Shelby County currently now, if they had 0.5% to move, they could currently adopt, their local governing body could approve that, and then it would go to an election of the residents of the county to go up to 2.75. And I agree with your reading that this would, upon approval and election, it would go up a point, and then after that 8-year period or when the debt service is discharged, it would only come back down to 2.75. And before moving on, at the chairman's request, we adopted 2 amendments, 3787 and 6047. And so the latter works off, it adds to the previous one. And so the way that the amendments work, they won't work on the bill by adopting both. So we need to withdraw, if possible, Chairman, 3787. So that the bill will make sense in its proper form when it leaves the committee.
Any questions for legal? Representative Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and yes, legal, thank you for your explanation there. The second part that that representative from Shelby County brought up about the property tax increase, did you comment on that, or did I miss it?
Legal?
Matt Money from Legal. Yes, I was just agreeing with his reading, which is that the bill initially would require an election to raise the tax, the sales tax, not the property tax, up to 3.75%. And then it goes away after 8 years, but it doesn't completely go away. It goes back down to 2.75%, which if Representative Leatherwood is correct and their rate is 2.25% currently, would not be going all the way back to that. it would leave a half a percentage point increase of the sales tax in the county.
Representative Warner for a follow-up.
So it's fair to say if we pass this legislation today as is written, that we would be increasing property tax for Shelby County residents.
Legal, you're recognized.
That would be conditional upon the the voters of Shelby County ratifying this piece of legislation.
Any other questions for legal? Vice Chairman Wright.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for legislative intent. Repeat the amendment number we need to have a motion on.
3787.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Any other questions for legal? Seeing none, we'll go back in session. We're now back in session. We need to fix the bill and get it in proper form before we move forward. So I need a motion on rescinding amendment number 3787. Proper motion in second. Without objection, we are removing amendment 3787 off of House Bill 308. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. We're now in proper form. Representative Gillespie, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you so much. And I would, if I do have the ability to do so, because there seem to be some questions and some inaccuracies here floating around. Could we go out of session and let some of those members ask those same questions that were just asked to people that are a little bit more relevant to Shelby County?
Yeah, I've still got questions for you. So let's get through those and then we'll do that. Representative Moon, you're recognized. Okay. Give us just a second. We have a hard stop in this committee. We got an extra 30 minutes this week. So we got about 7 minutes. So just wanted to make the committee aware of that. We may end up having to roll these bills for the members. I think we're going to try to get, the next in line will be Representative Capley. So if you want to hang loose, the rest of you can probably go to your other committees because we're going to not get to you this week. So I apologize for that. I know some of you's had bills in here for 6 weeks, but we will get you eventually, I promise you. Representative Rudd, Chairman Rudd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, it's up to the discretion of the bill sponsor, but since legal has identified a possible mistake in the tax hike, what we revert back would be an increase. Just to verify that, I would recommend to the sponsor to roll it to the next calendar so he can get that settled.
What?
Sorry. Representative, would you like to roll your bill or move forward?
If I have a role, I'm going to have to ask 20 people to come back here again for the 5th week in a row, but I'm kind of.
Okay, so I think I hear Chairman Rudd making the motion that this be rolled to the Hill, so it will not cost you a roll.
Okay.
So without objection, we'll roll House Bill 308 as amended to the Hill of the calendar. To the Hill. Representative Capley. Proper motion and second. We are on item 83, House Bill 935. 82, I apologize.
House Bill 83.
I do see do I have a motion on the bill? Proper motion and second. I do see we have a drafting code. Please give us your drafting code.
4802.
That is correct. We are, without objection, we will vote on placing Amendment 4802 onto House Bill 83. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill's now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee, for
being gracious and getting to me today. I know y'all been very busy, so I will make my comments and hush. The main thing this bill is brought to me by Murray County, one of my counties in the beautiful 71st District. I want to thank Chairman Moon for working on it with me, but it's amended to establish a study to gather information not currently available in which counties offer ambulance services versus contracting that out. It further studies ambulance reimbursement more broadly as it regards ambulance reimbursement more generally for both public and private service, supported by the County Mayor's Association, the Ambulance Service Association, and the County Services Association as amended, Mr. Chairman.
Question's been called on the bill. All those in favor of House Bill 83, moving on to Finance, Ways and Means, please vote yes on the board or no on the board. Madam Clerk, open the board for voting. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board, announce the vote.
We're engaged.
Mr. Chair, you have 20 ayes, 0 nays.
Your bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Committee.
Lowell Russell. Chairman, thanks for being patient. We are on item 21, House Bill 1426. We have received the necessary resolution, a 2/3 vote from the governing body. You're recognized on House Bill 1426.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee, House Bill 1426 will allow the city of Loudon to impose a potential developer's fee for future developments within the corporate city limits.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions? Representative Wright, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is only a couple of 3 paragraphs long, but when you get down to the very bottom of it, it says take and appropriate property, and then in any other manner is prescribed by law. And with no cap on the fee for property development, then I think we need to know more about this like over the course of a summer, and I move summer study, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Properly motioned and second. We are now voting on House Bill 1426, going to summer study. Madam Clerk, please open the board for voting. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 19 ayes, 0 nays.
I'm sorry, Chairman Russell, but your bill goes to summer study.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to try to get at least one more. House Bill 1278 by Representative Hill. Proper motion and second. I do see it has an amendment. Please give us your drafting code.
005314.
That is correct. Is a motion on the amendment? Proper motion and second. We're ready to place amendment 5314 without objection onto House Bill 1278. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Your bill is now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill as amended establishes 2 grant funds in response to the Hurricane Helene disaster recovery. And pending any questions, seek passage.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Question has been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 1278. Moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. All those in favor, please vote yes on the board, no on the board. Madam Clerk, open the board for voting.
There you go.
Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board, announce the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 20 ayes, 0 nays.
Representative Hill, your bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means. I think you got one more. It's item 38, House Bill 1283. Do I have a motion? Proper motion in second. I do see it has a drafting code. Please give us your drafting code.
006021.
That is correct. Is there a motion on the amendment? Proper motion in second. Without objection, we're placing amendment 6021 on the House Bill 1283. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Your bill's now amended. You're recognized, Chairman Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This legislation is amended, requires a coordinator of elections to include training to election officials on temporary forms of identification. And it relates specifically back to legislation we passed in changing the forms of IDs in special session. And that pending any questions, seek passage.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 1283. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. No, we can't do that. All those in favor, please vote yes on the board or no on the board. Madam Clerk, open the board. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board, announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 18 ayes, 2 nays.
Representative Hill, your bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee.
Guys, we're gonna take Mr. Raper. He's been sitting there patiently, and we are on item 35, House Bill 434. We have a proper motion in second. Mr. Raper, first of all, it's great to see you back. We're tickled today.
Thank you all.
So I do see that we have an amendment on your bill. Can you please give us your drafting code?
Yes, it is 5982.
That is correct. Do I have proper motion and second on the amendment? Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill for discussion?
Yes, sir.
Without objection, we're placing amendment number 5982 on to House Bill 434. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill's now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Okay, I'll try to be as brief as possible. This bill, so that any public facility ran by the state cannot be named after a local elected official while they are in office or in the following 2 years. This includes, but is not exclusive to, parks, buildings, roadways. It does not apply to individuals who use private funds to cover the name change, or are deceased, or is a dishonorably discharged veteran. This also states that public officials cannot donate to charity in their name if they are using public funds, and says that a facility cannot be named after a local public official who gets convicted of a felony. It does not apply to federal officials. This would not affect any facilities that are already named, and would not apply to in the event that the facility was named after an individual they were elected to public office. Ultimately, this bill is intended to prevent local elected officials from using state or local funds to name the facilities after themselves while in office. And I'll say additionally, this is modeled after the National Football League, the National Baseball League, and the National Basketball League rule about individuals going into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you for your explanation.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Raper. Question has been called by Representative Warner, so we're ready to vote on House Bill 434. Moving on to calendar rules, and our last bill for the day. All those in favor, please vote yes on the board or no on the board. Madam Clerk, open the board. Okay. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, close the board and announce the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 8 ayes, 9 nays, and 1 present not voting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Raper, but House Bill 434 fails.
Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, guys, House Bill 1278 will be going to government operations. I said the wrong thing a while ago. We're going to government operations for House Bill 1278. So any of the members have any announcements or personal orders? All bills that have not been heard today will be rolled to next week's calendar. Without objection, they are rolled to next week's calendar. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
And I got a second. We are adjourned.
Thanks for expediting that.
I tried, buddy.